Hello, my peoples. It's Rabbi Shmuel Pollen. I want to welcome you back to another edition of the Light Unto the Nations show. It's great to have you with us. And today is a very special holiday that we'll talk about. But first, I just want to mention a quick story of a man who was sitting crying on a bench. And this man had just survived Auschwitz. And a reporter came up to him and he said, I'm sure you're crying for all the people that you lost, all the friends and all the family that you lost. And the man said, No, I'm not crying because of that. I'm crying because we went through such unspeakable horror, such brutality you cannot capture with the pen. And my fear, my great fear, is that we'll get out of this and everything will go back to normal. That's the greatest fear, that everything will go back to normal. That's the greatest tragedy. That makes all the tragedy worthless if everything goes back to normal. And today is a holiday surrounding a first century sage named Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Shimon, the son of Yochai. And just a little bit of background, his teacher was named Rabbi Akiva, who was a man who didn't start learning Torah until he was about 40. He was a total ignoramus, and he went on to become one of the greatest sages that there ever was in the history of Judaism. And he had 24,000 students. And on the day of the count, between the first day of leaving Egypt and the day of the giving of the Torah, there was a plague. And for 33 days, people were dying, and his entire school of students, 24,000 students, all were wiped out by this plague. And on the 33rd day, it stopped. So there was something special about this 33rd day that stopped the plague. Then Rabbi Akiva had to pick up the pieces. He had lost all his school, all his entire academy. He took on 5 more students, and one of them was the Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and he passed away on the 33rd day. That same day that the plague stopped, he died. And on his deathbed, he said that his day of death should not be a day of mourning, but it should be a day of celebration. And indeed, it has been every single year since then. There has been in Meron, Israel, Meron, there have been bonfires by his gravesite, and the most numerous gathering of Jews in any other situation takes place at Meron, at the gravesite of the Rashbi. And just to give you a little bit of flavor of who the Rashbi was, he was the one who said that it's better to throw yourself into a fiery furnace than to offend someone. That's how much love he had for everyone. And he also said that would he be able, if he would be given the opportunity, he would be able to get off every single human being in all of history. He'd be able to get them out of hell and purgatory. He would be able to get them all to heaven. And how could he do that? To understand that, we have to understand a law and the laws of the Sabbath. In the Sabbath laws, you're not allowed to make a furrow. You're not allowed to make like a tunnel in the ground. So if you are bringing a bench from one house to another and you make a furrow, you would think you're violating the Sabbath. He said, no, you're actually not violating the Sabbath, because what you intended is to bring the bench over. You weren't intending to make the tunnel. You weren't intending to make the furrow. So it goes by what you intended. And that's how another rabbi explained how he would get everyone off the sentencing towards purgatory and hell. That he would show that deep down, deep down, you didn't really intend to do that sin that you did. Every sin you did, you never actually intended it. You were fooled by the evil inclination. You never intended it, and therefore you don't deserve to go to purgatory or hell. So he would be able to get everyone off from that in that way. We take something new on every year that we go through the Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's yahrzeit, and it's even more applicable that we take on something new right now when we're going through the coronavirus, when we're going through our own plague. Right now, we have to make sure that we don't let this coronavirus, with all the horrors that it brought, go for granted, that it go for a loss, that it go for nothing. We have to take something out of it. We have to be different people when we come out of it, or else it's for nothing. And for another reason why you want to make sure you come out a different person is because we don't want this to happen again. When coming out of Egypt, the Egyptians had to face 10 plagues because they didn't change. They didn't change their outlook. And we'll talk about what kind of outlook you're supposed to have. But we don't want to have another coronavirus. We don't want to have another different kind of plague. We don't want to have the killer bees. We don't want to have the locusts. But that's what God will have to do if we don't change. We don't make that change that we need to make. And what is that change? The main thing that we need to change is gratitude. We can no longer afford to take what God gives us for granted. A man who got coronavirus was in the hospital for a few days, and he got the oxygen and he got the ventilator, and the bill came out when he got out of the hospital for 10 grand. He said to himself, if I owed them 10 grand for the oxygen that they gave me, how much do I owe God for the oxygen that he gives me every single day of my life? Don't let it go to waste. Don't let one thing that God does for you go unnoticed. It's impossible. It's actually impossible to recognize and account for every kindness that God is doing for us at every moment. But we have to think as much as we can about our heartbeat, about the fact that we successfully go to the bathroom, about the fact that we can stand up straight, about the fact that we have food in the cupboard, about the fact that we have toilet paper. There was a big run on toilet paper. Don't let it go to waste. Always remember from now on that I thank God for the fact that I have toilet paper. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be. God doesn't owe us anything. What he did to form us in the womb has never been fully paid back. It isn't even close to being paid back. So don't let it go to waste. Remember that you have that toilet paper as a gift from God. Remember that you have that heartbeat as a gift from God. You remember you have that next breath as a gift from God. And we need to soften our hearts to this. We need to stop being so crass and callous. We need to thank, truly thank, and then ask God to help us thank even more and even better. Ask God that we be able to praise him the way that he deserves to be praised, because we know that no matter what we do, our praise is not worthy of what he's done for us. So the change we need to make is to soften our hearts, because as it says by Pharaoh in the Bible, it says that Pharaoh kept hardening his heart, and that's what made the plagues go on and on and on. If Pharaoh would have kept his heart soft, if he would have remained sensitive, if he would have remained grateful for your family as well, grateful for your friends, grateful to be able to be close to them, if you would be grateful in your heart, it would soften. And when it softens, that's what makes God want to let you out into redemption. And that's what we really want. We really want to get to the stage of Mashiach. And I have videos about what it will be like when Mashiach comes, when the Messiah comes. That's what we really need. We need to use this coronavirus as a launching pad to the redemption, to the Messiah. This needs to be a way to get there. It can't be just another event that happened and we forget about it. If we forget about it, there will be another event. There'll be another plague. So what we really have to do, what the Messiah will demand from us, is the 613 commandments for Jews. Go to chabad.org, chabad.org, and learn about the 613 commandments. And for non-Jews, the 7 Noahide laws. Go to asknoah.org and learn about the 7 Noahide laws. It's very important. This is what the Messiah will demand from us. And this is the way that we repay God for everything that he's done for us. So may we all take away everything that we need to take away from this event. May we all safely come out of this plague, but may we come out different people closer united with their family and with their God, and may it all happen immediately today.